Ladies, gentlemen, and arisen of all ages, Dragons Dogma 2 is a somewhat deceptive game, by which I mean when you first look at it, it looks like it has an incredible amount of depth, but also if you just follow the quest markers it gives you around the world, it can actually be somewhat shallow. However, of course, when the game truly opens up and gives you all it has to offer is when you do the same with it. If you really go all in, exploring every single nook and cranny, talking to every NPC, visiting various places around the world at all times during the day and night cycle, resting in between, the works. That said, that can be quite an excessive amount of coverage for a lot of people, but you still don't want to miss on some of the more interesting or hidden quests around the place, of course. So today we're going to go over a nice collection of quests that a large amount of people have never found, or at the very least, if it's one that you did find, you probably didn't know all the variations of the endings that they can have, or you might even have gotten locked out of it before you could finish it because it has a weird, unexpected progression gate. So today we're going to go over all that kind of stuff, and generally I'll try to go in progression and map order to help you know which of these are available at your point within the game. First up then, I have one that I bet a bunch of people are completely locked off from themselves very quickly into the game, which is a quest called the Ornate Box. When you first arrive in Vernworth, you will bump into a street urchin named Sven. You can tell the guard which way he went, or you can cover for him and let him go. If you cover for him and then rest for a day, you can then find Sven again in the main square of the town near a market stall. He'll be eyeing up this stand for the ornate box that is sitting on it. You can choose to either give him the gold that it costs, or you can buy the object and then give it to him. You can even buy it ahead of time and then give it to him when he shows up. If you do so, he will just be extremely grateful. In fact, you'll have to rest for about a day or so, and then he will come back to the main square area around noon at midday, because that's when he can sneak out. If you talk to him there, he will give you a jasper, which is a very valuable item in Batal worth a fair chunk of gold. Then he will again disappear, but rest again for a day, and he'll be in the same spot, and now he will give you a ring of accrual, which increases your maximum weight load just a small bit. Then this process repeats one more time, rest one more day, and then return to where he is at the fountain, and he will give you a free fairy stone this time. This whole quest then is specifically rare because the moment that you find Sven in the palace, or interact with him as part of the questline with Brant, really, this will become unavailable entirely. Why? Because, as he explains to you if you actually do this quest, there comes a point where it will just be too dangerous for him to get out. Everything will be too locked down, and it's all leading up to a certain event in the story known as the coronation, which everything progresses as, and the second that you progress pretty much at all within Vernworth, this quest disappears. Second then, today we've got a quest called Saint of the Slums, and it just requires you to talk to one very specific NPC in an extremely populated area full of people that look equally nondescript. You want to find this specific nun lady in the Gracious Hands area of the Vernworth slums named Elena. If you talk to her, she will ask if you can get her a specific medicinal ingredient, which just happens to be miasmite, which is a material drop from the ghosty phantoms that float around at night trying to grapple you. Bring the miasmite back to her and she will show you one of her patients named Lubomir. After Elena leaves, Lubomir will tell you that he thinks there's something fishy going on here. He's not certain, but the patients seem to be getting sicker when they shouldn't be. After that, you want to find Lottie right outside of the building, then right back over to Lubomir to tell him what she said. Then you want to go to the basement of the building into this room here. It is locked during the day, but open at night, so make sure that you do this part at night, and in here you'll find the evidence you're after. After that, you want to head to the nearby tavern and talk to Bruno, the beast wren beside the fire, to hear what he has to say, as well another man beside the fire at this tavern named Jahan, who also has information for you. Together, they will tell you a spot where you can go at night to watch Elena meet someone in the common quarter, which will have this whole thing actually connecting to Lord Phasis, surprisingly enough, a very important character in the story. Bring this information back to Lubomir again to advance the quest a little bit, and he will ask you to investigate a little bit further and to take the medicine that you found to the checkpoint rest town to the west, where there is a doctor who will look into it that he trusts a bit more. Rest outside here for a day after giving it to him, and then return to the doctor again to have it confirmed that it is in fact actually sort of a poison. Go back to the original building for the Gracious Hand, then just grab Elena to initiate the handing in of evidence and everything like that, which leads to the guards arresting her and giving you a tidy sum of 11,000 gold, which is pretty nice for the effort. Then we have our third quest today, which is hard to give a specific name to, but it's essentially a lead-off of Home is Where the Hearth is, and it's specifically the romance quest for Ulrika, who you meet very early on in the game. The reason this is a bit hidden, despite not being particularly hard to do, is again, like our first quest, just time cutoffs and vague objectives. Some of these quests are completely unavoidable, but there are things like the dragon attack in Melve being a major trigger, but if you do enough main story to hit the coronation first, it just sort of breaks that completely. The coronation in general seems to be a general trigger for breaking a few quests, including this one at various different stages of it, so generally I would just recommend doing the whole thing before the coronation if you have the chance to do so still, or at least up to the point of moving people away from Melve. As for how to make this happen then, return to Melve after reaching Vernworth for the first time and doing some stuff there, and you will find that a lesser dragon is attacking. Your goal is of course to repel it. After this, talk to Ulrika and you'll be asked to return to Melve from time to time just to check up on people, which is of course incredibly vague. I also recommend picking up 4 basic iron swords from the shop in this town while you are here, and just sticking them in your storage for later. Leave, go to any other town around, and then rest for a few days, and go back to Melve to talk to Ulrika and initiate the next stage of this quest. Follow the objectives themselves that it gives you from here, and then after that you want to head to Harv Village and talk to Ulrika again, because that's where she's moved to. After that, return to Melve to tell Lennart where Ulrika has gone, and leave the town, and once again rest for 3 days before returning. Return to Melve and find it overrun by soldiers who have taken control. You can sneak over the wall through clever use of movement though, and then if you go to Ulrika's house you'll find Lennart. He needs 4 swords, so go grab them from your storage and hand them over and you'll fight the soldiers off. After this, head back to Harv and you should find some drama playing out where a villager has been taken to the nearby Saurian cave, and the current village chief refuses to send anyone to help, but Ulrika is here and she refuses those orders and brings anyone who is willing to go because people need to be helped, including you. Join them, complete the objective, and then return to the surface, and this will end with Ulrika actually becoming the new chief, but now of Harv rather than Melve, where she started, and you get some gold and a fairy stone as a reward too. Rest for a couple of days and then go back to the beach on this side of town here to find Ulrika, who will tell you that she wants you to return at night. Do so and you get your romance cutscene, which also ends with her giving you 12,000 gold and the Ring of Reassurance, which gives pawns bonus defense after you revive them in combat, which is extremely niche but definitely quite fun to have. Fourth up then, we have a much shorter one thankfully, so we can go a little bit quicker, but also an extremely rare one, a noble exchange. The only way to trigger this quest is to have completed the coronation quest and then also have completed the masquerade quests, and then to return to the masquerade hall in full noble outfit and mask at night. As you enter the building, someone will stop you and give you the quest, as well as the paragon staff as a gift. If this doesn't trigger, you either need to just rest until it's a fresh night and try again, or get more story progress first. Either way, this is why it's a bit hidden, because how many of you have done this exact thing after all the quests here are already gone? Well, doing so gets you this staff. Then just walk around and talk to the various people in the hall, who will all just walk up to you and interrupt you and give you things as well, and then once you have everyone done talked to, you should get towards the exit of the building. You will find out upon doing so that someone has stolen a particularly rare and important item called the Paragon Staff, and they'll be searching everyone to find who it was. One problem, you have the staff. One of the people gave it to you. From here, there are 3 possible quest endings. You can go out of view of the guards and enter your inventory and discard the item on the floor in one of the back rooms, and then just leave because they will check you and search you, but when they do so, you'll be clean because you got rid of it. So you can just leave, but the true thief will get away. Alternatively, you could tackle the man who originally gave you the staff. If you remember who it is this guy over here. This leads to his arrest, and you get some gold as a reward for finding him. Third option, the crazy one, discard the staff in the back, but then tackle the guy anyways, which somehow gets the same result as the second ending, but I just find it much funnier of a way to do it. Fifth then is a quest called Every Rose Has Its Thorn, which is the affinity quest for Wilhelmina, the proprietress of the Rose Chateau in Vernworth. You have to encounter her in your palace-based story quest first, which happens quite early on, but once you do that, you can go and find her in her place of business, in her office essentially, and offer her the bunch of flowers item. Go wait on the bench outside of this building and repeat the process with multiple bunches of flowers, waiting 1 full day in between gifts until she stops accepting gifts, and then just starts repeating a singular voice line. Once you are at that stage though, that means it's time to leave Vernworth and then rest for a day anywhere else. After that, you can come back and talk to Wilhelmina again, except when you arrive, there will be some other things happening, so go into her room and interact with the portrait on the wall to have a look. Cutscenes will play out and you'll be asked to look for some evidence towards Minister Allard's wrongdoings. So go to Sven in the palace, who will tell you that you should talk to Patrick, who you may recognize from an earlier game, Masquerade Quest, and then he will give you some hints of where to look and offer to distract the minister so that you can go to search his house. Do so, and in his office on the 2nd floor you'll find some documents basically confirming that he committed murder. Bring these back to Wilhelmina and watch the drama ensue. Rest for a night after completing this section and then return to speak to Wilhelmina again for the romance cutscene, which ends with you getting the Ring of Benevolence, which gives you 25% of your health regenerated over a few seconds after you are hit hard enough by a singular attack, and you also get some gold too for your trouble. Then let's move on over to Batal and start near the entrance of Back Batal with a quest that is hidden in sort of plain sight. Right beside the tavern, by the entrance of the city, just north of it, there is a house. If you never go into this house for any reason, you don't find this quest. You're not really given a reason that you should enter this house, but if you do, just out of pure curiosity and exploration, you will find a man named Jarl individual who is very interested in researching poisons. He offers you the quest A Poisonous Proposal, asking you to get poisoned by asps and then return to him while inflicted, so go and do that. Then he will ask you to do the same but with venom harpies and also mark the spot on your map where you can do so go do that again. Then he will want to be poisoned himself, but by a specific chimera in a specific place, so meet him out at his objective and do as little damage as possible to the chimera until Jarl gets poisoned, at which point he will thank you and run back home, and then you can either finish killing the chimera or leave. It's up to you really. Meet him at his house and he will clearly be quite unwell because he's still let himself be poisoned, but he'll also give you a ring that will make you 100% immune to the blight status, which is extremely unique and quite helpful in specific situations for sure. After that we have the second house in Batal. You heard that right, the second buyable house. There is a more obvious one as you wander around that you are accosted about for 30,000 gold, which is quite a bit of gold, but what if I told you there was a bigger house here that you could get for 300,000 gold? Yes, that is an absolute ton, and it's also quite a bit out of the way too, at least as far as the obviousness of it, being specifically related to an NPC at this location here within the hallway leading up to the palace named Corlata. Talk to her and you can buy this house, so just for the sake of how few people will actually choose to do this, let's do it and have a look at it. I mean, I've farmed quite a bit of gold, so why not waste it on something out of pure curiosity, really? After spending the money, you will get taken to your new abode just south of the palace, a lovely little caveside home with a bit of a tunnel past the door just into some really nice furnishing, and then a genuinely very, very nice view. I don't know if it's a 300,000 gold view, but hey, maybe you're in New Game Plus, you got money to burn, and sure, if that, in that case, it's lovely, it's nice. Then we have quite the extensive quest, which is all related to Hugo, a well-meaning bandit boy. You can first find him at the checkpoint rest town if you offer an orphan some food, but you are more likely to find him when investigating the oxcart raid on the road south from that town in Batal. During this quest, you will find and follow him through the bandits' hideout under command from the guards who will join you at various stages of the raid. When you reach the end of the area, the bandit leader Lonzo will escape, and he will leave Hugo behind to take the fall for him. This is when things get a bit funky, and here's where a lot of people get lost on this quest, because from here, Hugo will go to the prison in Back Batal. If you go here and then talk to him, then rest for a few days, another coral snake will be brought to the prison that you can interrogate. But if, however, you have interacted with the main story stuff in the city already, and interrupted the assassination attempt on the Empress, the assassination from that quest will be put in the prison, and a secondary NPC related to that quest too will join them. The thing is, the bonus coral snake for the assassination quest occupies the same cell as the coral snake required to progress Hugos Quest, which causes quite a bit of a bottleneck that causes a lot of confusion for people. If you are in this situation where Hugos Quest just seems like it's blocked, what is missing is that you need to finish the assassination quest here, at which point if you wait a couple of days you'll be told by a guard in Back Batal itself, just wandering around, that they have a new prisoner for you to interrogate, and then you can continue all the Hugo stuff there. The thing is, this also has even more options of continuation from this point too. If you talk to the new coral snake in prison named Breft, he will go just crazy heavy on exposition. He is just like such a typical bad guy, it's honestly quite funny, and then you can talk to Hugo after you're done talking to him for like 3 minutes. He will just go on and on. If you tell Hugo what the bandit said, he'll get angry and seek revenge on Lonzo, and if you don't go there before him, Hugo will die. And that is just one ending to the quest. That is a way that can actually just end right there. If you do not tell him what Braft said, then this won't happen. Early in the process, you could offer to give the head jailer money, and if you do so, then at this stage he will allow Hugo to leave for a bit of bonus gold, at which point you have a fun moment of choice. Hugo wants to leave the life of crime behind, but he doesn't quite know what to do. If you have completed Wilhelmina's affinity quest, which we talked about earlier, then you can offer him a job at the Rose Chateau in Vernworth, which is actually sort of funny, but there's also a second option. If you complete Isaac's quest, the apothecary in Back Batal, it sort of, well, ends with Isaac disappearing for some very sad reasons, let's say, but his house is still there, and his shop is still there, just unmanned, so you could also just tell Hugo that he should just go and basically take that guy's life that he left behind, which is arguably probably the best ending, especially because it means that you can still have an apothecary in Back Batal after doing that quest, and also it's a nice ending for Hugo, at least. But it's just really cool to see that these options exist, honestly. As well, though, at this point, you know that Lonzo has moved to the ancient battleground in the fort, which is the north part of the checkpoint rest town, north of that. As mentioned, if you had told Hugo everything, he would have gone there to hunt him down and died. But with Hugo now on the straight and narrow through your actions, you can either leave Lonzo there to live out his life, or you can go there and take him down yourself, because he is physically there after you're told that that's where he's moved. You can head to the top side of the fort of the area, and you'll find Lonzo at the top, and you can kill him if you want, and you can even go tell Hugo about everything afterwards for a little bit of closure, but no further rewards. Then our final quest today is a sort of right place, right time type of thing to get in the first place, but then you also have a a pretty significant time lock on the quest too, and that quest is the Phantom Oxcart. You learn about this from eavesdropping around the oxcart stands in Vernworth after completing the Coronation quest. They mention an oxcart that travels by night with an eerie blue glow. The progress gate for this quest, then, for those wondering, is when you hand in the worm life crystals to Ambrosius for the main story quest related to that, for the minimum amount of spoilers to describe it. As far as the quest itself then, head to the marked location at night to find the oxcart, then report what you see to Brant in Vernworth. He will ask you to investigate further, and the trick to this is to return to the same spot at night. Take off all of your equipment so you're basically naked. Do that, and then if you talk to the driver of the oxcart, he'll be happy to let you on, which then takes you on a journey of exposition all the way to the south side of Backbatal, right outside of the spell sealed door. At the border, some guards will beat you up a little bit, but you do just have to sort of let them do it without reacting. Then you'll be taken to the final destination, and at that point they will realize that you are in fact not a pawn, and some guards will attack you. Do what you have to do to escape, killing all the enemies that are mad at you. Any guards that find themselves involved will respawn in a few days, so you don't need to worry about that, and you do need to kill some enemies here to lose combat without involving the whole town. Do so and you'll get an item that you need to bring back to Brant in Vernworth, and he will give you a big chunk of gold and a ring of momentum in return, which are excellent rings that increase your maximum stamina by 150, which is a pretty decent amount. And that just about does it for today then, everyone. A nice sizable collection of quests that are either far enough off the beaten path to be considered rare or hidden, or are just so involved and have so many different potential endings or progression locks of various kinds that getting the best endings or even just finishing the quest in the first place once you have them can still be tough if you don't know what you need to do. I hope you've enjoyed seeing these quests then, and hopefully you enjoyed doing them for yourselves too, if you can, for any that you may have learned about here. Like if you liked the video, subscribe with the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world our stage. Goodbye.